Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Well, Heidi ho, and how y'all doing? It is Tuesday, August 18th, and it is 9:41 p.m. Eastern Time if you're on medication. Now, if you're not on medication, it still happens to be 9:41 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, well, let's get into the news. I know that's what you're here for. All right. Now, I do have some people to thank. Lois Bateson, Kristen, another Kristen, or it could be the same one who donated twice. Who knows? And, well, Tyler, that can't be right. But I have to check on that. Tyler. Anyway, also, this is not snail mail. This is Patreon. You know. Yeah, Patreon subscribers. We have Dana Sizemore. She increased her pledge. Thank you very much, Dana. And we picked up a new Patreon subscriber, Brandy Henricks. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Always appreciate the support. Yes, it is what keeps us going here since the YouTube gods have decided that my content cannot be monetized any longer because I'm not following the narrative. So it is what it is. All right, let's go on now and look at the first item. This from James Woods, who happens to be, one of my favorite people, certainly one of my favorite people to follow on Twitter because he is very articulate and extremely bright. Actually, he is a member of Mensa. I probably have told you guys that many times before, but here I am telling you again. And he said, ridiculing Michelle Obama as a transgender is ludicrous and counterproductive. More importantly, it erodes legitimate attacks on her loathsome past embrace of Harvey Weinstein, Bill Clinton, and other Democrat rapists and child sex traffickers. Now, he is making a very good point because the more we focus on the fact that she is transgender, the less we focus on the things that are really the issue. Because is the issue that she's transgender? Well, it is in part because they tried to pull the wool over the eyes of the American people and did so rather successfully for the most part. In fact, even today, if you say to some people that Michelle Obama is not a woman, well, you will, they will look at you a little odd and probably want to commit you to a mental facility. But, well, we know. We've seen the evidence. Okay, well, and let's go on. Also, now, I just read this today in passing somewhere, was not aware of it, but one of the Obama daughters, now, obviously, not birthed by Michelle, but anyway, one of the daughters of the Obamas, what do you call that when you interned? She interned with Harvey Weinstein in 2017. What kind of parents allow their daughter to intern with a rapist? And if you recall, Michelle Obama called Harvey Weinstein a very nice man, great person. Yeah, well, not in my books. All right, so let's go on now and take a look at this. This from Just the News. Senate intelligence report finds no Russia collusion. FBI handling of probe flawed. Well, that's not news to any of us. The report also concluded that one-time Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort was a grave counterintelligence threat. All right. It says, let me see here, and this by Joseph Weber, whoever that is. The anticipated Senate Intelligence Committee report released Tuesday on Russian interference in the 2016 election found no collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. Well, it only took them, what? We've known this for at least 2 years, possibly more, and they're just catching up with that now. The news is just catching up now. Of course, yes, the Senate Intelligence Committee report was just released, and that is where they're getting the information. But, it's funny how we've all known this for at least 2 years. But I digress. The committee also found that the FBI's handling of Russian threats to the election were flawed, and that the agency gave unjustified credence to allegations about President Trump's alleged ties to Russia that were included in the now discredited dossier compiled by former British spy Christopher Steele. Again, nothing new to any of us that we're following Q. And by the way, let me just throw this in here because I just mentioned Q, and I have received so much grief over not following Q. Well, it's not that I don't follow Q. It's not that I don't believe in Q. I believe that Q, I don't think that it's some fake LARP or anything like that. I believe that Q is real. I believe that he, she, they, them have given us very good intel. The only thing is, I was a bit uncomfortable about what the end game is. And I don't know why people automatically assumed that, oh, you hate Q, you're against Trump, and you're a disinfo agent, and you've infiltrated the movement, and I mean, just crazy out there stuff. I like Trump. But like anyone else that was in office, we have to be wary. If you think that you are above being deceived, then you are already deceived. Don't ever underestimate the power of deception. President Trump, while he is a wonderful man and has done wonderful things for this country, and of course he is the only choice to vote for in the upcoming election, he's just flesh and blood. He's just a human being like we are. He makes mistakes. He is an extremely intelligent man, but I'm just saying he's flesh and blood. But there are people that get so insulted when I even say that. How dare you? How dare you? Really, it boggles my mind. And so let me just get this straight and put this out there again for the 110th time. It's not that I don't believe in Q. I do. I think the intelligence that we've received has been real. I mean, I haven't caught anything that wasn't real or that didn't check out when you looked into the evidence and so forth that Q has provided us. What he does is he points us in the direction and lets us dig for ourselves. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just a little uncomfortable. Now, can I not say that on my own channel, that I'm a bit uncomfortable without everyone getting upset with me and sending me nasty letters and everything? Not so much letters. Nobody sent me a nasty letter. Emails, yes. Comments, yes. So let's just get this straight. I just wanted to get that out there. All right. So let me continue on here. The flaws were based on an incomplete understanding of Steele's past reporting record, states the report according to the Washington Post. However, the bipartisan report by the committee found that Paul Manafort, who was briefly a Trump campaign manager, posed a grave counterintelligence threat due to his interaction with people close to the Kremlin. The report also found extensive contacts between key campaign advisors and officials affiliated with Moscow's government and intelligence services. Manafort worked with a Russian intelligence officer on narratives that sought to undermine evidence that Russia interfered in the 2016 U.S. election, including the idea that, I lost my place there because this over here distracted me. This right over here. All right. Manafort worked with a Russian intelligence officer on narratives that sought to undermine evidence that Russia interfered in the 2016 U.S. election, including the idea that Ukrainian election interference was of greater concern, the report concluded. So interesting that in all that, nothing new, nothing that we didn't already know a few years ago, actually, and was uncovered for us. So, yeah, interesting that news is just now catching up. Okay, now let's go on, because we can, and let's look at this. This is another interesting thing that Just the News carried. Something is not right, says Obama's White House doctor about Biden. He's just lost. Well, Yes, he is lost. He's very lost, and that is putting it very mildly. The former White House physician and retired Navy Rear Admiral says he watched Biden's decline up close for several years. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, the former, hang on, let's see if I can get this. No, I can't. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, the former White House physician to President Obama and Trump, is speaking out about his impression of Joe Biden's physical and mental fitness for office. The best way I can describe every time I see him is that he's just lost, Jackson said. I won't make any particular diagnosis about dementia, but what I will say is that something is not right, continued the doctor, who just won a GOP congressional primary in Texas. Asked whether he's comfortable with the idea of Biden assuming the top executive position in the country, Jackson said, "I'm not." Jackson stresses that he hasn't personally reviewed Biden's medical records, but has witnessed the changes to the former vice president up close over time. I saw him quite frequently around the West Wing and other places like that. I know he's always been prone to gaffes, but these aren't gaffes anymore. He can't form sentences. Sometimes he can't complete a thought, said Jackson, whose full comments are available in Donald Trump Jr.'s upcoming book, Liberal Privilege, Joe Biden and the Democrats' Defense of the Indefensible. In December, Biden's doctors released a statement saying the 77-year-old is in good health. However, the subject of the former vice president's mental fitness was a topic of discussion throughout the primary campaign and during the first few months, which Biden had largely spent at his home in Delaware, away from the grueling campaign schedule that a pre-pandemic election would have demanded of him. Constant verbal missteps and slurred speech have left spectators wondering if the former vice president is in decline. His cognitive decline has got to the point where I'm not comfortable as a citizen of this country having him as my commander-in-chief, said Jackson. Well, I don't know too many people that are comfortable having him as commander-in-chief, but there are some Americans that have Trump derangement syndrome who would vote for Biden only because they hate Trump that much. And that is sad. It's sad that they would choose somebody that is truly, I mean, really, you would have to be just about brain dead to watch Biden and not question his mental acuity. Really, there'd have to be something wrong with you if you viewed all of his gaffes and all of the interviews and everything and said, yeah, he seems fine to me. Right. There's something definitely not right about him, and I think that the country, if they're paying attention, which I don't know if they are or not, but he's not capable. But on the other hand, I don't think that he is actually the one that's running for president. I think it's Kamala, and I think that they would love to have her in there. Love to. Now, I'm talking the Democrats would love to have her in there because I think she'll do just about anything to, to please the powers that be above her. The ones pulling her strings, whoever they are, and I can only imagine. But I think she already proved that she would do just about anything to become president or to have power and control because of her relationship with Willie Brown. That is how she got into politics. No mistake about that. That's a fact. So I think she's somebody that can be easily manipulated and controlled because she's hungry for power and money. All right, let's go on now. And let's look at this rather strange article. This is southfront.org. Rand Corporation and Pentagon simulate U.S.-China... Oh, what happened here? Okay. Simulate U.S.-China war over Taiwan. China wins every time. Now, this is the only place I have seen this article, so I don't know. This website is new to me. I've never gone there before, and I've never read anything on this before. It says Southfront Analysis Intelligence. So let's see what they have to say. The U.S. Department of Defense and the Rand Corporation are continuously simulating war between the U.S. and China over Taiwan. It appears that Washington loses every time. Real Clear Investigations reported. around a large table with a map and icons representing ships, submarines, planes, missile batteries, land-based forces, space-based sensors, and other apparatuses of modern warfare, officials from the Pentagon and the RAND Corporation fight a thus far unimaginable conflict. The red team, composed of experts on the Chinese military, aim to use all available forces to capture Taiwan. The blue team, made up of U.S. military personnel with operational experience, fighter pilots, cyber warriors, space experts, missile defense specialists, must try to defeat the Chinese invasion. It goes poorly for the blue team, more or less, every single time. It's had its ass handed to it for years. David A. Oshmanek, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Force Development and now a defense analyst at RAND, told the outlet, for years the blue team has been in shock because they didn't realize how badly off they were in a confrontation with China. Really, that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. It really shouldn't. And the U.S., under Obama, the U.S. military was... he was systematically dismantling the force behind America. That's what he was doing. It was a 16-year plan to ruin America, and they were well on their way. And if Hillary were sitting in the White House right now instead of Trump, well, you can only imagine. I don't even know where we'd be. It would be interesting if there was a way you could explore that. You know what I mean? If there was a way to find out what would have happened, I think we would all be shocked. Anyway, obviously, this is a war simulation, and it's not real world where economic, diplomatic, and cultural considerations have a very tangible effect on what takes place. There's also one thing most experts on China agree on. It's not going to war over Taiwan anytime soon. Well, that's good news. The U.S. appears to be causing a sort of deterioration of the situation. The U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, Alex Azar, visited Taiwan in the highest level visit in 40 years. To make it worse, the U.S. Congress is to vote on the Taiwan Defense Act. It ends the U.S. policy of strategic ambiguity. The bill would force the U.S. to delay, degrade, and ultimately defeat an attempt by China to use military force to seize control of Taiwan. The bill suggests that both parties and the Congress strongly support Taiwan. As China faces more criticism from the U.S. and other Western countries, it is obvious that achieving what Beijing calls the reunification of the motherland would be significant and sought-after achievement for the Chinese Communist Party and its president, Xi Jinping. As several military analysts put it, in the days of unfettered American military superiority in the Western Pacific are over. China has, the analysts say, achieved what's called anti-access area denial, or A2AD, which would prevent American forces from being able to penetrate anywhere near Taiwan once a war there started. With the A2AD capability, China has 2 million strong army. Wow. That's what now think about this. That is what the Bible talks about, them having a 2 million strong army in the end times. That is very interesting. I've never read that anymore, that they now have achieved that. So that is eye-opening, to say the least, to me, because that number has always been in my head as a prophetic number for the last days, that China will advance on, and I believe it's China and Russia advance on Israel. I'm going to have to check. It's been a while since I looked into all that. Anyway, all right, 2 million strong military. That is phenomenal, terrifying, really, and could directly attack Taiwan with a standing force of 220,000, hoping the U.S. would stay out of the conflict. But the U.S. would have powerful reasons for not allowing that to happen. A Chinese seizure of Taiwan would enormously expand China's power and position in Asia, especially if combined with its absorption of the entire South China Sea into its maritime territory. If China felt that the U.S. would intervene, military planners from the Pentagon and RAND, who have gamed out scenarios, believe a war over Taiwan would most likely begin with a massive attack by Chinese by advanced Chinese missiles against 3 American targets, its bases on Okinawa and Guam, its ships in the Western Pacific, including aircraft carrier groups, and its Air Force squadrons in the region. Military analysts predict the American side would initially counter with Patriot anti-missile missiles, but the sheer number of Chinese missiles would mean that hundreds of them would reach their targets. American submarines operating near Taiwan would be able to sink some Chinese ships, including amphibious landing craft, bringing the Chinese invading force to Taiwan. Regardless, the number of submarines close enough to take action would still not be enough to deal anything near a crushing blow. We're playing an away game against China, Rand's Oshamanik said. When bases are subjected to repeated attacks, it makes it exponentially more difficult to project power far away. The casualties that the Chinese could inflict upon us could be staggering, said Timothy Heath, a senior international defense researcher at RAND and formerly a China analyst at the U.S. Pacific Command headquarters in Hawaii. Anti-ship cruise missiles could knock out U.S. carriers and warships. Surface-to-air missiles could destroy our fighters and bombers. China would have its challenges, but in the end, it would more than likely achieve victory. They are giving off a lot of signals about how this campaign would unfold, Lyle J. Goldstein, a China and Russia specialist at the Naval War College in Rhode Island, told RCI. They're talking a lot about an airborne assault in 2 varieties, by parachute and by helicopters. It's what's called vertical envelopment. Amphibious assault is old school. It may be necessary, but it's not the main military effort. The new school is to bring lead elements over by air, secure the terrain, and then bring in more forces over the beach. The intensity and scale of training in the Chinese military now for airborne assault is, to me, shocking. There would be 15, maybe 20 different landings on the island, east, west, north, and south, all at once, some frogmen, some purely airborne troops, Goldstein continued, saying he was expressing his own views, not official assessments of the U.S. The Chinese High Command would watch these bridgeheads to see which of them is working, while the Taiwan Command is looking at this amid decapitation attempts and the massive rocket and air assaults. The Chinese would seize several beachheads and airports. Their engineering prowess would come into play in deploying specialized floating dock apparatuses to ensure a steady flow of supplies and reinforcements, a key element. My appraisal is that Taiwan would fold in a week or 2. And in short, China's strategy would be to get an invasion fleet across the Taiwan Strait before the U.S. could come to its allies' aid. And once that happens, we'd face Iwo Jima situation. And once that happens, we'd face an Iwo Jima situation. Ochmanek said, referring to the small Japanese-held island in the Pacific, that the U.S. took in one of the most casualty-heavy battles of World War II. Once Taiwan was occupied, the option of retaking it with amphibious assault of our own would be very unattractive. In order to deter that, the U.S. could move towards defending Taiwan with standoff missiles and not with aircraft carriers. A second component of such defense. Okay, this is very, very long, and we're almost done here. So let's come down to here. What else is a possibility between U.S. and China? What both sides can do is turn the sea and airspace around Taiwan into a no-go zone, he said. China could do that, but we would make it very hard for any surface ship to survive near Taiwan, including Chinese transport vessels loaded with troops. That alone might stop an invasion. Finally, if all else fails, China would face the risk of a larger war with the United States, which might involve nuclear weapons and an outcome Beijing could not guarantee. The biggest threat to China is that a regional anti-China coalition forms, he said, and so if the United States can succeed in building its alliances in Asia, that would be a powerful deterrent because China can't afford to go to war with Asia. So, lots going on, absolutely, and let's just hope that that scenario never plays out, because obviously they have played this war game over and over and over again, and every time the U.S. loses. Not good. So let's come back and see what other trouble we can get into, because I'm sure there's quite a bit. Now, Yeah, let's take a look at this. And I think what I'm going to have to do with this is put a link, pin a link to the very first comment, because it's too much to go through 87 politicians. But this is about 87 politicians exposed for their horrific crimes against children. Sorry, that was my phone. 87 politicians exposed for their horrific crimes against children. But to go through 87 politicians would be quite, time-consuming, to say the least. So, hang on here. Let's go up here. It says Americans have known this for decades and have done little to nothing. These are our children. No wonder why America is being judged. Why America being judged is under judgment. That doesn't make sense, but all right. Americans, the list below should come as no surprise as to what is taking place in your country today. It explains why we have seen that our said representatives are continuously bearing forth corrupt fruit. For decades we have known of this corruption, and now it is all coming to the light. Hebrews 4:13. Preying on the fatherless. On our watch, new explosive charges are coming to light regarding the Sandusky Penn State scandal. The FBI, along with the U.S. Postal Service, is looking into the possible existence of a pedophile ring which involves Sandusky sharing the boys he abused with other men connected to Penn State, sources familiar with the situation said. So that is still ongoing, that investigation. And this is the child trafficking documentary some in Congress do not want you to see. What is this one? I think. Okay, well, that is whole different articles. And so, friends, for the record, a corrupt tree is not going to bring forth good fruit. It is without a doubt going to bring forth corrupt fruit. Scripture is clear. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire, whereby by their fruits ye shall know them. Matthew 7:16-20. No matter how many different ways or methods these people try to put themselves up as righteous, the Lord will bring and is bringing it into the light as to who they really are. 2 Corinthians 11:14-15. Before we get into the list, let me remind you that these are the same criminal politicians that have advocated sodomy, pedophilia, and pornography as free speech. And this says, if I can demoralize you, I can control you. That's true. Now, let's come down here to the... so here is the list. Now, like I said, there are 87 people on this list, and I can't go through them all. But I am going to pin this to the comments. So it'll be the very first comment that you see underneath, and you can peruse this at your leisure and check it out. But I'm telling you, 87 Democrat and Republicans. If you are caught up in the divide and conquer unconstitutional scheme, Mark 3:25, and it says 87 Democrat and Republicans were exposed for crimes against children. Democratic Illinois State Representative Keith Farnham resigned, was charged with possession of child pornography, has been accused of bragging at an online site about sexually molesting a 6-year-old girl, and it goes on and on and on. Lots of people, 87 people. Some of them are Republicans as well, so you can't say I'm picking on the Democrats or just picking out the Democrats without mentioning the sins of the Republicans. Not at all. This is a mixture. But these are the people we need to get out. A lot of these people have been out, are out already, but these are the people that need to be out of government. We need men and women that are above reproach, that avoid evil, avoid the very appearance of evil. Anybody that would prey on a child, do we want them lording it over us as our our political representatives? I don't think so. I don't. All right, so like I said, I'm going to pin this article so you can all see. Yeah, all right. Now, let's go back. I'm going to have to pick up the pace here a little bit. I haven't got through much. Yeah, well, let's look at this. Shouldn't surprise us at all. Kamala Harris trashes our brave police officers while praising Black Lives Matter. Shouldn't surprise us, and probably doesn't. What would America look like under a Biden-Kamala presidency? Really? I mean, they both want to defund the police. They want to increase taxes. They, you know, I mean, think of what the Democrat cities look like, and then picture the whole country like that, because that's what it would look like. That's exactly. They ruin everything they touch. Okay, presumptive Democratic vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris is not the moderate the mainstream media seeks to portray her as, attorney and Federalist Society member Mark Pulliam told Life, Liberty, and Levin, is it Levine or Levin? Levin. Anyway, I've only seen it in writing. I've never really watched the show. In an interview airing Sunday, Fox News reports, I think these days, in the age of resistance, particularly among presidential aspirants in the Democratic Party, almost everyone espouses this type of hyper-progressive rhetoric. Pulliam, a contributing editor at Law and Liberty, told host Mark Levin. But in her case, if you go back to her track record from when she started her political career in California, you can see very disturbing signs that she really believes these things and that she has acted in the past consistently with these beliefs. Kamala Harris has an extensive track record of doing what is best for her and her greed and her political career. She has openly backed Black Lives Matter and Antifa through their start in the United States. It comes as no surprise. Back the Blue, aka Stand with Police Departments. Congressional Democrats introduced the Justice in Policing Act of 2020, a comprehensive set of legislative proposals intended to change national police culture and accountability, as well as to help establish greater trust between communities and law enforcement. As proposed, the law, according to Forbes, amends a federal criminal statute to adjust the legal standard necessary to successfully identify and prosecute police misconduct, prohibits federal, state, and local law enforcement from racial, religious, and discriminatory profiling, bans chokeholds, cartoid holds, and no-knock warrants at the federal level, limits the transfer of military-grade equipment to state and local law enforcement, mandates the use of dashboard cameras and body cameras for federal officers, and requires state and local law enforcement to use existing federal funds to ensure the use of police body cameras, and initiates a national police misconduct registry to address the issues of officers who are fired or leave an agency to move to another jurisdiction without any accountability for their prior behavior. Harris' ties with Black Lives Matter and the movement to defund police departments are slowly gaining ground in our nation, which leads to the riots and looting. Make no mistake, this isn't about an overreaching police force or a police state mentality. This has everything to do with dismantling of American culture, beliefs, and our way of life. And that's exactly what it's about. That's exactly what it's about. They want to dismantle everything. They want the chaos. They want the riots. They want it all. They want to destabilize America, and they're doing a very good job. A very good job. But how much worse will it be if they were in power? I think voting this year is the most important. I think if you've never voted before in your life, please vote now. Please. And make sure that you vote in a manner that it can't be discarded, like the mail-in voting where they have it coded for Republican and Democrat. Make sure that you take it yourself, hand it to them at the polling station. This is a very, very important election. And I don't know what would happen to America if Donald Trump lost. I don't see possibly there's absolutely no possible way he could lose legally. And what I mean by that is there is no possible way that if everyone voted and no cheating, there was no cheating across the board, then there is absolutely not a chance Donald Trump would lose. The only thing I'm worried about is the cheating. However, remember, Q said that the voting is safe. So I don't know, but I'm going to go with that. I may not be comfortable with everything that about Q, but I'll tell you one thing. I do know that what he, she, they, them have stated in the past has been right. So we got to stand on that and believe that our elections are safe. I hope. I pray. All right. Now, the next thing we have here is just about the most, well, let's just say this. This is a headline that you just don't see very often, and you probably won't ever see again. I would imagine. Now, I'm not going to read this article. I just want to show you the title of the article. Cocoa dust falls on Swiss village after malfunction at chocolate factory. Like, what? Cocoa dust falls on Swiss village after malfunction at chocolate factory. Does that not sound like, I don't know, something like, it sounds Willy Wonka-ish. Willy Wonka-ish. Well, I don't know if that's a word. I don't think it is, but, well, it is now. All right, so, yeah, just wanted to, apparently, well, let's just read the first little bit. I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this, but I did want to show you because I knew that you wouldn't believe me if I just told you. A Swiss town got a surprise dusting of cocoa when a ventilation system malfunctioned at a nearby chocolate factory. Why can't that ever happen to me? Why can't there be a malfunction of a chocolate factory around here and spill cocoa dust on everyone? I mean, I'm just saying. The Swiss chocolatier and confectionery company Lindt and Sprugly said a defect in its cooling system launched cocoa nibs. Oh, they weren't just cocoa dust, it's cocoa nibs. Yeah, watch out for the falling cocoa nibs. They should have, you know how they have signs, and some of them are quite ridiculous. They have, around here, they have turtle crossing, moose crossing. They have, not moose crossing right here, but not that far. Deer crossing, you know, whatever. Then they have the sign for falling rocks, and maybe they need a sign in that Swiss village for falling cocoa nibs. Beware. You're entering an area that there could possibly be falling cocoa nibs. You know, make sure you tip your head up and open your mouth. I mean, it would be a warning for people to, like, get out of your cars, open your mouth. Anyway, the company says one car was lightly coated and that it has offered to pay for any cleaning needed, but hasn't been taken up on the offer. No, they weren't taken up on the offer because the owner probably licked the car clean. I'm just saying. All right, so cocoa nibs, whatever they are, watch out for them. It's cocoa nib falling season, apparently. All right, so I'm going to move on from that because that is news that can benefit probably no one. But anyway, yeah, let's look at this now because I have to cover this. No, I have to. The stupidity and anti-American sentiment at today's DNC convention brutally summed up by 5 short video clips. Now, this is today's news, hot and fresh. All right. Yeah. Last night's virtual DNC nominating convention was a real snooze fest and a real showcase of the stupidity and anti-American sentiment that personifies today's Democratic Party. Tonight's installment is shaping up to be even worse. Here's what we've seen so far today. First, the DNC Muslim Delegates Assembly moderator skipped saying "under God" when he recited the Pledge of Allegiance to open his session. Kind of funny that even the Muslim DNC speaker omits any mention of God during the pledge. Yeah, let's listen to this.
Joining us today.
Oops, what happened here? Here, no. Never mind. Hang on here. I don't think I'm going to be able to make this bigger without it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I lied.
To start our program today, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. What happened to the one nation under God? I guess the Democrats don't feel like they are under God. Well, I just wonder what God has to say about that. I think he'd say maybe something different. All right. Now, let's come down here. Shows that all Democrats are the same, no matter their background, sex, or religion. They all disrespect the traditions of our country and believe that God should not be part of the equation. Next up, we had anti-Semite Linda Sarsour say that the Democrat Party, while not being perfect, is absolutely our party. And here she is. Yeah, one of the most anti-American, anti-Semite people probably in the United States. All right, let's listen to her.
The Democratic Party is not perfect, but it is absolutely our party in this moment.
Yeah, okay. It's not perfect, but it's our party. There you have it, more confirmation that the Democratic Party is now more anti-Semitic than ever before. Linda Sarsour is sadly emblematic of the new generation of Democrat Party leaders. Then, because everything at the DNC is fake, and because, well, why not? The chairman of the party's Native American caucus introduced the great champion of the American Indian and author of Pow Wow Chow, Elizabeth Warren. Hi, how are ya? Hi, how are ya? Hi, how are ya? Never mind. All right, and here she is. Now, I'm not going to listen to everything she has to say because this goes on and on and on and on and on. She should have just sent smoke signals.
And we can safely do so again. You go out a minute. Thank you.
Language. And next up is our wonderful Senator Warren, who is a dear friend of mine and somebody who has always been a champion for Indian country and somebody I'm incredibly proud to have with us. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing your good words.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. And hello to the DNC Native American Caucus. It is such an honor to join you all today. I wish that we could be together in person so that we could connect and take hugs and selfies and talk about the fights that lie ahead, but we know that's just not possible right now. But
all right,
so,
I can't listen to any more of her,
today.
so I'm just saying, yeah, she's representing the DNC Native American Caucus, and she was the special guest of them or whatever. Yeah, isn't that kind of like asking Colonel Sanders to represent the chicken? I'm just saying. Just saying. Okay. Next, because it's the Democratic National Convention, we got to hear a panelist talk about abolishing the police and ICE. Well, naturally. Isn't that what they're all about? Yeah.
Why can't folks imagine a world without the cops? Why can't folks imagine a world without prisons? Why can't people expand their imaginations to include community care, to include an abolitionist future? And I'm talking about like for real abolition, not just watered down DNC version of abolition. We're talking about abolishing the police. We're talking about abolishing ICE. We're talking about abolishing prisons.
That was the LGBTQ caucus meeting. Yes. Why can't we imagine a world without police? Why can't we imagine a world without prison? Why can't we ride unicorns and sniff pixie dust? Why? All right, and finally, and most importantly, because it is his big event, former VP Joe Biden repeatedly forgot he was first inaugurated as VP in 2009, 2012. He doesn't know. And then there's Tom Hanks here, and that doesn't look like Tom Hanks. It looks mildly like him, but do I believe that's the real Tom Hanks? No, I don't. I'm just being honest with you. I don't. And you can't make me. So there. Anyway, let's listen to this. I'd rather hear nails on a chalkboard, but, you know.
And I quit. I became became a public defender. And I used to have to interview my clients down by the train station, Amtrak, the Northeast Extension, the Northeast Corridor. And I thought that before they were arraigned. And 40 years later to the month, in January of 2018, I found myself in a circumstance where, 2012, I found myself standing in the same spot I had stood 40 years earlier.
2009.
And I didn't intend that. I was waiting for a train to come. And I was looking out to the left of my view was southeast Wilmington, which had been burned to the ground. And it's back and flourishing. I looked across what they call the 3rd Street Bridge to an all-black community, which in fact is back up, still has some troubles. And I was waiting for a black man, Tom, to come and pick me up from Philadelphia, a guy named Barack Obama, on the 17th of January to take me to Washington, a trip I've made 1,000 times, commuting every day, to be sworn in as president and vice president.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks sits there. You know, you can tell that he's even like, yeah. Why is Tom Hanks part of the DNC? I don't get it. I don't get any of it. Stay tuned. More good times ahead. Well, I hope if there are times like this, I hope not. I honestly, I don't know. If I had to sit through all that, I think that I would probably lose at least 10 IQ points. At least. Anyway, so that's that. And then there's some political cartoons. We've got another basement fire. He says all black people think alike. And there's the media ready to put out the fire. Yeah. All right. That's enough of that. Let's go back. See what else we can get into here. Don't have a lot more time, but yeah, let's look at this now. Crazy stuff. I'm telling you, crazy stuff. Man threatens to shoot up Jewish daycare camp because they aren't social distancing. Right. So they're not social distancing, so they're not staying safe, so let's kill them. Tell me what the thinking there is. Like, oh my gosh, they're not social distancing, they might get sick. Oh, better kill them. I don't understand how these people think. Well, Nicola Pell, a Long Island man who owned an array of weapons, was arrested after police say he threatened to shoot up an Orthodox Jewish day camp over social distancing regulations, or violations rather. Nassau County Police received a complaint that the yeshiva day camp was violating COVID-19 restrictions, with approximately 500 students were wearing no masks, and while officers were en route, they said the man called again and threatened to get a gun and shoot the individuals at the location if the police didn't get there. Oh, they're not staying safe. Oh, better kill them. If I got to go out there with a freaking machine gun and shoot all these people, I will, he allegedly said. Authorities say that when the officers arrived at the Yeshiva Katana of Long Island, located at Doherty Boulevard in Inwood, there were 30 children with their parents at the day camp. Oh, and he said there were approximately 500 not wearing masks. There were 30 with their parents. This is what all of this craziness is causing in unbalanced people. How many real deaths are there? Not from COVID, but maybe, I mean, it's extremely hard to see a doctor up here right now. Impossible. It's all done over the telephone. If you want to see a doctor, it's over the telephone. Well, you know, if you need something that can't be done over the telephone, whoops, too bad. And how many people have died because their cancer treatments have been put off because of COVID, and critical operations have been put off, and whatever. You know, it's ridiculous. And all this crazy talk is causing people like this guy to become unglued. It's insanity. You know, I'm going to shoot all these kids because they're not social distancing. Ooh. Yeah. All right, well, let's look at, what are we going to look at next? Oh, well, I think we need to at least look at this. At least. Breaking, Bill Clinton caught in photograph getting massage from alleged Epstein victim. Well, you don't say. This is today's news, hot and fresh. Former President Bill Clinton will be speaking at the Democratic National Convention, but he has some questions to answer. On Tuesday, the same day he is set to speak at the convention, a report from the Daily Mail showed photos of Clinton getting a massage from Epstein victim Shantae Davies, then 22. In the photos, Clinton sits comfortably and laughs as Shantae Davies, then a 22-year-old massage therapist who acted as Epstein's personal masseuse, rubs her hands into his shoulders and gets out the kinks in his neck. I don't think you could ever get the kinks out of Bill Clinton. Really. Clinton, then 56, had complained of having a stiff neck after falling asleep on Epstein's infamous private jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express, while on a humanitarian trip with the pedophile to Africa. I bet it was humanitarian. Right. In September of 2002, Maxwell, who is now in prison on sex trafficking charges, repeatedly encouraged Davies to give Clinton a massage while the group was refueling at a small airport in Portugal after flying in from New York. After Maxwell's insistence, Clinton asked the 20-something, would you mind giving it a crack? Yeah, I'd love to give it a crack. The images show Clinton dressed in a yellow button-down shirt and beige slacks with his hands resting on his lap as he leaned back while Davies knelt on a chair behind him for a better angle. In the second image, Clinton seems to be smiling in relief as a sweatpants-clad Davies massages him. And here are the pictures. Yeah, poor Bill Clinton and his stiff neck. He wanted her to give it a crack. Oh, and this just takes us to a whole different article here. There we go. Yeah. Oh, I hate all these ads. Yeah, so look at that. It's craziness. Well, she looks like, well, I guess she's just doing what she's paid to do. And Bill Clinton is seen enjoying a neck massage from a Jeffrey Epstein victim in never-before-seen photographs obtained exclusively by DailyMail.com. Clinton sits comfortably and laughs as Shantae Davies, then a 22-year-old massage therapist, rubs her hands into his shoulders. Oh, he looks like he's enjoying that. Yep. Clinton, then 56, had complained of having a stiff neck after falling asleep on Epstein's notorious private jet while on a humanitarian trip with the pedophile to Africa in September of 2002. After Maxwell's insistence, Clinton asked the 20-something, would you mind giving it a crack? Well, too bad she didn't give it a crack. I'm sorry, that's mean. Oh, and there. Oh, well, isn't that nice and cozy? Davies, who had claimed she was raped by Epstein after being recruited by Maxwell, said Clinton was a complete gentleman on the trip as she described how the encounter occurred. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Not sure I believe it, but, well, maybe he was. Who knows? So, yeah. I'm not going to get into all of that, but there he is, and there she is with Jeffrey Epstein right there. All right, a couple of things are important to note about these images. The first is that Davies wasn't an adult woman at the time, so, nothing wrong with that. Another is that Davies had said former President Clinton was a perfect gentleman to her during that trip. Well, that is good news. So then why is this hitting the news? I don't know. Davies said that the massage happened when we had a stopover for the jet to refuel, and while we were in the terminal, the ex-president was complaining of stiffness from falling asleep in his chair. Ghislaine chimed in to be funny and said, I could give him a massage, the former masseuse said. Everyone had a little chuckle, but Ghislaine, in her prim British accent, insisted and said I was good. The president then asked me, would you mind giving it a crack? She said. He turned his back to me and I reached up and I tried to rub out the kink in our former president's neck and shoulders, she said. She said she was embarrassed when she said to him, I've got a bad angle. Would you mind getting on your knees? I was groggy and have also been the queen of putting my foot in my mouth, she said in a memoir about to be published. For a moment, the room fell silent. I couldn't believe I'd said that. The words just shot out before I realized what I was saying or who I said it to. Then, although his face had turned the color of fire, he laughed. The whole room was laughing too, and being the good sport he was, he sat down so I could get a better angle, she said. So, really not sure what the news article is there because, to tell you the truth, I mean, she was 22 years old, so not like he was doing anything wrong there, and she said he was a gentleman, so why is this a news article? I don't know. I mean, personally, I think, okay, Bill Clinton, yeah, he's bad, and they're both bad. But to tell you the truth, of the two, I think Hillary is far, far worse. All right, well, I think that might be it for tonight, but let me see. Some of these can wait until tomorrow, but let's look at this, because this is a lie that's being perpetrated by the left, and it is a lie. Photog calls out Reuters on viral photo of mailboxes that led to leftist lies of Trump sabotage of the USPS. A photo of the USPS mailboxes in a big pile has gone viral in an effort by the left to push the lie that Trump is going all out to remove the boxes before the election. The problem is that the fake news tweet is still up on Twitter and is being shared like wildfire. So much for the fact checkers who are supposed to be policing Twitter. Nothing has been done to delete the lie, so by the time the tweet is taken down, it will be everywhere. And of course, that's what they want. And if you think Dippy Jack is going to do the right thing, he's not. The original tweet that ties to fearmonger is on the left below. The original tweet that tries to fearmonger is on the left below from Thomas Kennedy. So, photo taken in Wisconsin. This is happening right before our eyes. Gary, he did his due diligence to get to the bottom of the story. Okay, so everyone has seen the viral photo going around of the piles of mailboxes in Wisconsin being used as evidence that Trump is sabotaging USPS. Problem is, they have been there for years. Hartford Fishing Inc. Powder coats and refurbishes the old mailbox. So let's come down here. The truth is that the company in Wisconsin had a contract with the USPS to refurbish mailboxes. Yes, these mailboxes will be reused. Gary, he calls out Reuters and the left for publishing this complete lie. When I called up Hartford Finishing Inc., a woman on the phone confirmed that they have a government contract for the mailbox refurbishing and that they get them from all over and make them look good again. This is where I have to give some tough love to my friends at Reuters Pictures. They sent a staff photog to these mailboxes and then posted them to the wire, labeling the site of the mailboxes as just an industrial lot when context is our entire job as journalists. Well, are there any journalists left? Now, where is the picture? I've seen the picture, but why is it not showing it here? The conspiratorial, okay, no. Okay, here it is. Well, let's take a boo at it. Yeah, this is it. Let me see here. This is the picture. Photo taken in Wisconsin. This is happening right before our eyes. They are sabotaging USPS to sabotage voter by mail. This is a massive voter suppression and part of their plan to steal the election. Yeah, so this is what they ran with. It's all over Twitter, hasn't been taken down, and those mailboxes are actually in a lot, or they're actually on the property of a company that refurbishes mailboxes. This is how the left works. That's exactly how the left works. So, and this says, okay, so everyone has seen the viral photo going around with the piles of mailboxes in Wisconsin being used as evidence that Trump is sabotaging USPS. Problem is, they have been there for years. Hartford Finishing Inc. powder coats and refurbishes the old mailboxes. Yeah, but, but still, Jack leaves it up there because he hates Trump. He hates the left, or he hates the right, he hates conservatives, and he hates you. So let's just see if there's anything else I absolutely positively must cover before I go tonight. And I don't think there is. Oh, yes. Let's look at this. Where did I go here? Here I am. These are the 41 sickos who voted to let babies scream until they die if born alive. And if you will notice, guess who? Kamala Harris. Yes, she voted to let babies die if they were born alive without medical care. Just let them scream and cry or die alone in the cold. Don't render any aid. And that's what Kamala Harris voted for. Let's see who else that strikes me. Cory Booker, no surprise there. Richard Blumenthal, definitely no surprise. Bernie Sanders, wow. Elizabeth Warren, wow. Amy Klobuchar. That's pretty alarming. Patrick Leahy. Mazie Hirono. Well, of course, that doesn't surprise me. And yeah, and others. So, and what is this? Oh, yes. 45 out of 50 U.S. governors did not force COVID-19 infected patients into nursing homes, but 5 of them did. All Democrats. Andrew Cuomo, Tom Wolf, Pennsylvania, Phil Murphy, New Jersey, Gavin Newsom, California, Gretchen Whitmer, Michigan. That's more than 50% of the deaths in the USA, and it wasn't accidental. It is murder. That's exactly what it is. So 45 out of 50 didn't do it. 5 did, and it accounts for 50% of the deaths in the USA. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. Who would kill an elderly patient? Who? It makes me absolutely sick to my stomach. I don't know, I've always loved older people. I guess now I'm becoming one. But yeah, I can't imagine anybody wanting to harm somebody like that. And let's look at this. Deplorable army brat. Trump took 700% more questions than Biden over month-long period. Study finds Trump took 700% more questions than Biden over month-long period. President Trump has taken 555 more questions from reporters than presumptive 2020 Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. Surprised? Nope. And this is the last item. It must be, because I can't top this. I won't be able to top this. So this is going to be the item that we end on. This is not a joke. I repeat, it is not a joke. They gathered to scream at Trump through their vaginas. Yes, they did. These are the people who want to control the government and teach your kids. Now, thankfully, they have blurred out the offending parts, but there they are. They're screaming through their vaginas at Trump. How do you top that? No, really. How do you? You don't. So with that, I end. And we've been going for an hour and 3 minutes. So it's a little bit shorter than usual. I'm not doing a second video tonight, and you can't make me. But who knows? Tomorrow's another day. So anyway, you guys have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and please keep seeking the truth. The truth will set you free. Good night, guys.